Let's go over to get some update on the local government elections in Ogun State. My colleague Bernard Akede is on the ground, and we have him live now. Bernard, it's good to see you again, away from the sun this time. So where are you, and what is the latest? Is the process still ongoing?
Thank you for having me again. The process is still ongoing. I'm currently in polling unit 11, ward 17, if I'm not mistaken. And as a matter of fact, we are now in the counting stage of the election for some places, like this particular unit where I am at the moment, and you'll get to see what's going on now. The major challenge that most people who I have spoken to say they have is with the turnout of the elections. I know that in Ondo State, there's also been complaints about voter apathy. And that's on the larger scale because it's a state government election. But here it's a local government elections. Many say that they didn't expect that the turnout, will be fantastic because it's local government. But then not that it will be this poor, sadly. Very, very few people have turned out so far. And then the second major challenge is the time that the voting itself actually started because of the time that the electoral materials arrived. Now, also, again, bear in mind that this election is not conducted by INEC, the national body. However, it's conducted by the State Electoral Commission, that's OGSEC, Ogun State Electoral Commission, Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission. So if fingers will be pointed this time, not to INEC, but to Ogun State. And then I met a gentleman who also complained, but said he wanted to speak off camera, talking about how probably the government should look towards having INEC also at some point begin to conduct and oversee local government elections as well, just so that we can avoid certain of these very avoidable challenges that we're beginning to see in elections like this.
All right, before we talk about the poll participation, because I'd really want to talk a bit more about that, I just wanted to know if there's been any response from INEC as to the concerns being raised on the disbursement of election materials and the time that the process is starting.
If INEC could say anything, that will probably be later, not now. Again, the election is conducted by the state, so it's the State Electoral Commission, Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission that's handling this. I would see if after the election we'll be able to get audience from the State Electoral Commission and to channel these complaints to their doorstep, because there's so many people complaining about the time, the lateness that this election started. And then after that, we also want to see if INEC can also take up some of these complaints as well. I hear that there have been, there's been word in the National Assembly trying to see how there could be some legislation, how there could be some change of hands, how they could actually involve the national body, that's talking about INEC, when it comes to local government elections. If that eventually would hold water, if it will be business as usual, well, only time will tell. But of course, when you begin to have challenges like these, then just maybe INEC themselves should be called in to oversee, even if it's not to completely control, but maybe at some point just to oversee and to ensure that things work better. So we'll keep our ears to the ground and our eyes open to see and to hear if there'll be any response, first of all, from the State Electoral Commission, and then from the national level, talking about INEC as well.
For the few persons that have come out to cast their ballot, what are they saying is the driving reason that's making them, take the time to come out despite the seeming apathy on the process?
Oh, fantastic. I think it's the basic reason why most people think there should be some change in power or change in government, and that's because certain things that they need, that the people need, have not been put in place. I've been able to interview a few people, and you will get to see those interviews, subsequently. Some have complained about, of course, the state of the roads. There's been huge complaints about that. There are complaints about, basic amenities that they think should be provided by local government, water supply, maybe primary schools, basic education, basic health care. The basic things that you and I know should be provided by the government of the day, whether it is federal, state, or local level. In this case, we're looking at the local level because they are the closest communication or connection, that the people have to the government. So it's nothing out of the ordinary that people are complaining about. And there's one particular guy who I spoke to. You will get to see that interview. I'll show you later. He coincidentally is a government teacher and a lecturer, and he said that what we teach theoretically or what we learn and teach in school is completely different from what emanates when it comes to practical government and governance. And then he even threw his hat into the ring, wanted to contest eventually as a councillor within his area. And then one challenge he talked about was that, come election time, you see so many polling units, so many wards, but when it comes to actual practical or practicing of governance, you see that government is far from the people. They don't get to feel the presence of government, even in the local levels. And it's quite disappointing that now that they have the chance to come out and cast their vote and either to change the government in power or to support the government that's doing well, either way, you have turnouts as poor as this, unfortunately.
Media coverage. Earlier, when we talked about this, you said it seems News Central is the major national broadcaster that is covering this local government election. Is that still the case, or perhaps you've seen some other major news outfit also covering the process, aside from the local media?
And so it's still just the local media I've come to see around. Again, there are 20 local governments in the state. We're not able to go around all the 20. So I would like to give benefit of the doubt and say maybe in some of the local governments we've not been able to touch, there could be some other, broader media outfits that have been covering there. But so far, so good. Just us, News Central, and then some of the domestic media outfits within the state that we've come to see, which also may be a cause for concern. Yet, though the election is, on the local government level, you would still expect that there should be proper media coverage for such elections. If we're looking at hyper-local stories, which is one of our key points at News Central anyway, if we're looking at hyper-local stories, we're looking at bringing information closer to the people and then bringing people to the information as well, bringing government to the people and vice versa. You would expect that there will be better coverage for this. Earlier, I think you asked me, or other colleagues who asked whether the election in Ogun State may have taken the shine from local government election. Again, maybe that's the case here. But again, I would have hoped that there will be better coverage of local government elections, just so that there's more information, to the people and from the people concerning what's happening in the local level. And again, remember that we're still talking about autonomy of local government. I do not think that this is the way to go about local government autonomy if we really want to make it a thing that should be considered or that should be taken seriously.
Bernard, before we let you go, what stage is the process where you are at now? Are the officials just coming together, or people are actually voting where you are now?
Okay, so where I am now, voting, I believe, has been concluded, and they are now counting and collating. You can see that on the screen now. In some other places, in many places that we visited, it took quite a while for the process to get to this stage. Some places, they finished voting or they're just waiting because 2 p.m., I believe, was when we were supposed to stop. So at some places, again, because of the voter turnout, very quickly voting had stopped, but the electoral officials were just waiting for more people to come or for the time to get to when they need so that they can begin to count. But here where we are, counting has commenced. Observers are here looking and waiting to hear the results of those who have, of the votes that have been cast and the votes that are being counted.